Up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch, presented by the Cincinnati Business Courier, are you a fast casual or quick casual diner? It may sound like there's not much of a difference, but for restaurants, the difference means big bucks. Hate waiting in line at your favorite OTR restaurant? There's an app for that. And houses you have to see to believe, the latest in home amenities from this year's Home-A-Rama. U.S. Bank Business Watch is next. Good morning. Welcome to U.S. Bank Business Watch. I'm Brian Patrick. This week's Business Courier front page centerpiece, this will make you hungry, eating their lunch, the battle for your dining dollars. Are you fast casual or quick casual? The answer will determine who wins this lunchtime battle. Fast casual, national chains like Chipotle and Panera, may require you to stand in line, but they're generally quick in and out and offer healthy food options.
One of the reasons consumers like it is because they can get almost the same table service and they don't have to offer a tip, when they leave, so they can sometimes save 15–20% on their meal.
Quick casual, local chains like La Rosa's and Skyline also serve quality food but provide table service, so they require a longer time commitment for the dining experience. The stakes for Cincinnati in this battle for the food consumer are very high. Local quick casual chains employ thousands of workers, including scores of top-level executives, and bring a combined revenue of about $700 million into our economy. Fast casual was merely on the fringes just a decade ago, but now it is exploding. Since 2007, revenue at fast casuals has quadrupled. Chipotle sales are up 150% over that period. Panera, 70%. Burger chain Five Guys, a whopping 470%. And getting into the fast casual market appears to be a better investment.
The typical cost of entry in the fast casual segment is anywhere between $250,000 and about $400,000. And from an investment standpoint, that makes it much more appealing as opposed to when you get into quick casual concepts, and it can be $1 million or $2 million even. So you certainly need to generate a lot less sales when you're in the fast casual segment as opposed to investing in quick casual.
Restaurant analysts say any chain not in fast casual is on high alert right now, including those in Cincinnati. In the 6 years since this market exploded, sales at Cincinnati quick chains have been flat. Well, the wait in line for a good meal in Over the Rhine is getting a bit more manageable thanks to a new app called OTR Line. Business partners Scott Avery and Scott Miller say they love all the new restaurants in OTR but hate waiting in line.
So we came up with an app that allows users to post the wait times at all their favorite restaurants in Over the Rhine.
And they say they're not stopping with OTR restaurant waits.
There's all sorts of different possibilities for it, from doctor's offices to service centers to any sort of place that offers a good or service where there's a wait. This is some place that OTR Line can be expanded to cover. And geography is obviously another part of this. We'd like to bring this to the rest of Cincinnati so that people have a more convenient, happier experience at all sorts of different establishments.
It's a great idea. Avery and Miller are apparently not alone in their disdain for waiting. About 1,000 people downloaded the app in its first week. Well, speaking of technology startups, Entrepreneur Magazine has given a shout out to Cincinnati for being one of the best places in the country for emerging tech companies. The magazine gives credit to the many businesses and organizations offering mentoring and seed money to these entrepreneurs. One of those, Cincy Tech, where they're not surprised with Cincinnati's success.
And we're finding that the quality of the deal flow is very good, and it's because of the talent base that's here and the technology base that's here, much of it resident in our large corporations, but that spins out and starts a company.
Bob Coy says another of Cincinnati's main advantages is less expensive to start a business here. A new retail development is coming to Liberty Township, and it may cost shoppers in a new way. Liberty Center in Butler County is expected to break ground in the fall. Trustees voted to create a taxing authority that could charge shoppers for purchases a user fee or facility charge, sort of a sales tax, I guess. A number being kicked around is 0.5%.
This is critical to the project and the financing piece. This is one of the tools being used to finance this large-scale development.
Another piece of the funding puzzle is to charge an assessment to the companies doing business at the new center. Dillard's will be the department store at the site. Other retailers are to be announced. Opening is expected in 2015. The city of Cincinnati is studying 2 new streets for potential bicycle enhancements, and the Department of Transportation and Engineering wants your feedback. The first project is on Delta Avenue. They're considering adding a 5-foot bike lane on both sides of Delta. The second is a larger project along Central Parkway. That project calls for either striped bike lanes or physically separated cycle tracks along a 2.2-mile stretch of the roadway. For more information on how you can have your 2 cents heard, you can visit the city's website, cincinnati-oh.gov/bikes. A troubled Cincinnati apartment building is being torn down to make way for a new development. Demolition began last week on the St. Ledger apartment in Evanston. That complex was a notorious trouble spot known to house drug dealers and other criminals through the years. Tearing the building down is part of a plan to revitalize the community. It will be replaced by a new 26-unit family apartment complex. The city, county, Ohio Attorney General's office, and the private sector worked with community leaders to make this happen. There is a new CEO at Gateway Investment Advisors, but he is a familiar face at that company. Paul Stewart had been with Gateway for more than 17 years as its CFO. He's replacing Patrick Rogers, who had been CEO for all the years Stewart has been there. His financial advice mirrors his professional life. Consistency is good.
Sticking to a plan through the ups and downs of the market. We had a little June sell-off. That shouldn't rattle investors. They should stick to their plan and sometimes reallocate, but don't wander too far from your plan that you may have in place.
Stewart's goals are simple. Expand the company, which now manages $11 billion. The 51st Home-A-Rama is underway in Liberty Township. How about a combo basketball court home theater room? 6 homes are included this year, ranging in price from $800,000 to $1.2 million. That's just one of the amazing sites that you'll see. Home-A-Rama runs through July 28th at Carriage Hill in Liberty Township. Visit carriagehillliving.com/Home-A-Rama for directions and more information. Dan Dressman, Executive Director of the Home Builders Association of Greater Cincinnati, is with us in the studio this morning to talk about what else you'll see at this year's Home-A-Rama. He joins Business Courier publisher Jamie Smith. Dan and Jamie?
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for being here today, Dan.
Sure, Jamie. Glad to be here.
I'm sure this is a busy time of year for you.
Very busy.
Well, give us a little preview of what's going on at the show this year. What kind of houses are there? What can visitors expect to see?
Well, for the first time in the 51-year history of the show, we pre-sold all 6 houses that are in the show. People are going to see the latest and greatest in everything, all the bells and whistles that you might expect or you could even possibly imagine. The latest design trends, techniques, the colors that people are using these days, the newest in home technology. It's all there at Home-A-Rama.
Okay, and this is 6 different builders, is that correct?
There's four different builders, 6 homes in the show.
Okay, so you get a little variety there.
That is correct.
Is the fact that it's sold out for the first time, is that indicative of the real estate market right now?
Well, I think it is. I think we've seen an increase in consumer confidence, stabilization of home prices over the last year, which is a really good barometer on the direction we're heading in the housing industry, which we're happy to see finally.
That's great. I know you said those houses are sold, but you said Home-A-Rama will be there again next year, so you can go up there and kind of get a lay of the land of all the acreage that's up there and find a spot for next year?
Right. We have actually selected Carriage Hill. It's a community of 430 acres, so there's plenty of room to expand and grow there. There's going to be a new section developed immediately after the show concludes this year called Oak Reserves. And we already have 7 builders committed, have selected lots to participate in that show next year.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I know it goes to the 28th. I hope to make it up there, and I hope you guys have a successful show.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for being here. Brian, back to you.
All right, Jamie and Dan, thank you. Up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch this morning, the new flavors are in at Grader's. Here's a tease, salted caramel, and more controversy surrounding the city's parking deal. Internal emails reveal part of the story. Here's some news you might have missed if you're not reading the Business Courier online every day. The debate over the city of Cincinnati's plan to lease its parking meters and garages heated up again this past week. One issue, a memo from a city-hired consulting group raising concerns about the deal. Just a day before the city signed the lease with the Port Authorities when this came up. The memo says that the operating company's cost to oversee the meters will be 257% higher than what it costs Cincinnati to operate them today. A consultant on the project says the memo was crafted to help negotiate a good deal with the firm, not as a warning that the city was already being fleeced, according to emails between a city official and the consultant. You can see those emails and learn more about this ongoing controversy on our website. The city of Cincinnati set a start date for another hot-button issue. Following years of planning and controversy, the city says passengers will be able to board the new streetcar September 15, 2016. The city signed a contract last week with Messer Construction. Cincinnati Bengals training camp on Friday, so even though it's the middle of summer, the time to buy tickets is rapidly approaching, and they are not cheap. Seats for the Bengals game against the Green Bay Packers, September 22nd at Paul Brown Stadium, are going for an average of $168 a piece. The Bengals home opener September 16th. That's a Monday night game against the Steelers. Just behind the Packers game, tickets averaging $157. This according to Vivid Seats. Graeter's unveiled some new flavors this week. Salted caramel truffle cup, peanut butter pretzel, Aztec chocolate, and jazzberry cinnamon crunch will be available in limited quantities. The new flavors will only be available through an online order of 6 pints. They will not be sold in stores or individually. The cost depends on where the ice cream is shipped. I still like that raspberry chocolate chunk. In this morning's U.S. Bank Economic 360, a topic that's part of daily life, even the purchase of ice cream or anything else you buy, that's inflation. Prices have been relatively tame for some time, and there is some indication the Federal Reserve would like to see a bit more inflation in the coming months. For an update on where we stand and some Cincinnati-specific measures, we turn to U.S. Bank's senior equity strategist, Jim Russell, for his perspective. Jim, we always appreciate you. How are you?
Good morning. Doing great.
So let's talk about inflation. What does that mean and how is it measured?
Well, there's a couple of different ways to measure inflation. The most common way is called the Consumer Price Index, commonly called the CPI, and some of those measures really have been trending down over the last couple of years. You can see a graph of maybe the last 25 years. You can see some volatility. A lot of the volatility, Brian, is really caused by food and energy. Economists try to strip out food and energy to kind of get a core reading. So sometimes CPI is referred to as headline, that contains all the readings, and sometimes core. There's a second measure of inflation that frankly we like just a little bit better. It's called the PCE, and what you see here, the PCE really determines, as opposed to the CPI, what consumers kind of sort of buy. The PCE actually measures what consumers actually do buy, and you can see that that is frankly at a 25-year low right now, really showing that inflation is up only 1%. I think the Fed would prefer inflation to be around 2%, so that's one of the reasons why they've been pursuing quantitative easing so aggressively.
I remember an era of very high inflation, and to me, inflation is kind of a negative thing, but it's also a necessary thing in the economy.
It is. Too low inflation is a problem. Of course, too high. As a child of the 70s, too high inflation is also a problem, so just in the middle is where we want to see that.
How does the most recent data then look in terms of the economic outlook?
Well, the inflation measures are on the low side. So low inflation, which you would think is a pretty good thing, but it really is indicative of a slow-moving economy. You can see some of the metrics right here. Headline CPI at 1.8, core CPI, again, stripping out food and energy, 1.6, and gasoline prices being one of the more volatile portions at up 6.3. The only place we're really seeing rapid inflation, and we referred to it earlier in the program, is housing prices. Housing prices nationally are up about 12% year over year, so inflation's pretty low. But other than in housing, it really is indicative of a sluggish domestic economy, too much supply, and unfortunately not enough demand. Demand comes with a faster economic rate.
So how does the inflation in Cincinnati compare with other parts of the country?
It's an interesting dynamic in terms of comparison. comparison. Cincinnati is a very affordable place to live, especially here in the Midwest. What we have thrown up here is the national average indexed at 100. Cincinnati about 7% or so less than the national average. We have a couple of other cities that I think folks are familiar with as well. Chicago at 116, New York at a whopping 216, and St. Louis at kind of in that Cincinnati range at 90. So that includes food, energy, transportation, housing, and a few other items. So again, a very affordable place to live. Cincinnatians ought to take heart there.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we love about it so much.
Yes, sir.
Well, Jim, thank you so much to you and U.S. Bank.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, still to come on U.S. Bank Business Watch. Could jungle gyms get any bigger? Maybe. We'll tell you about a plan to team the international market with Google. And congratulations to Krista Nair, another of our 40 Under 40 honorees. Krista is CEO of Bootcamp Digital. Bootcamp Digital offers consulting and training in digital marketing and social media. Good morning. It's great to have you with us. In this morning's Business Insight, Jungle Gyms is known for doing things big, and Google Inc. is known for its innovative technology. So the combination of the two may mean something huge is in the works. Phil Adams, Director of Development for Jungle Gyms, has approached Google to create a partnership. Phil joins us in the studio with Business Courier editor Rob Dahlmeyer. Phil and Rob.
Brian, thanks. Phil, thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thanks, Rob.
So I was tinkering around with on the Google site today on the maps and really taking a walk through your Eastgate store, which is like essentially like Street View.
It is.
But inside, it was staggering. I thought it was just absolutely incredible.
Oh, thanks.
How did you even decide that you wanted to hook up with Google, or how did you even think you could to get them interested?
Google has a lot of links out there, and we always looking for different ideas and different perspectives. Several years ago, we as a company moved over to Google products, email, docs, everything else, Drive. Google Maps, when we first got the Eastgate, all the mapping software out there was wrong. Truck drivers trying to find our location and how to get into the Eastgate Jungle Gyms were always landing up at a different location because the map for every map was wrong. So the only one that would allow me to get in there and fix it was Google Maps. So manipulating the entire Eastgate area and surrounding areas led me into other areas of Google Maps and different connections with people inside Google.
And so were they receptive, or did you have to sort of talk them into doing this? Because, I mean, they were out at the store for, how many hours were they out at the store mapping it?
We have two different projects going on with them currently. Fairfield has the integrated 2D map into Google, and Eastgate has the Street View, and we're still working on the 2D map overlay. The overlay project had 6 to 8 people at each store for 6 hours, I believe, walking around and mapping both stores.
Did you have to sell them on this, or were they like,
yeah,
sure, okay, yeah?
It took many months of coordination with Google team members. I think we started in November, and I think they showed up in March.
So I know that Google just really recently, with their new maps that you can get, rolled out like interiors of malls and big malls, but no grocery stores. So this is the first one
that I'm aware of as well. I don't know of any other grocery store, and I'm not so sure how many other grocery stores this would fit.
Well, how big are your stores, first of all? For people who haven't been there, they're worlds in of themselves.
They haven't been there? Oh. Let's see. Fairfield is 300,000 square feet for customer space. It's about 185. Eastgate, it's about 228 for customers.
So when I go out there, I'm a foodie, so when I get there, I'm overwhelmed. You know, I always run out of time. Are you hoping that this will actually increase sales at your stores, or is this more of just like it's just cool?
I think the sales will be a residual effect. It is very cool. I'm a techie, and I love this stuff, and I still think it's cool. I think what you're going to see is people that travel in from out of state, overseas, or what have you, and the family say, hey, let's go grocery shopping. And then those people that went through with them go back to their home and say, man, we went to this grocery store and you won't believe it. And now they can actually walk them through and say, this is what where we went, and they may bring those friends with them next time.
Now, how are they ever going to update the information, or is this sort of a stagnant kind of one-shot deal?
Right now, it's a one-shot deal. If we want to update it, we just do a whole new shot. But we've also submitted some stuff that we can actually be on a beta test to manipulate different things, because we want to do some other things with this.
So I assume you had some high expectations for the job they do, but Google makes so many different products, and their Maps product really is, I mean, in the tech industry, known as maybe one of the greatest pieces of software ever designed.
I agree.
How did you feel when you first saw the walkthrough in eSkate? And I was just looking at that today. How did you feel when you saw that?
I felt like I was there, and I was upstairs looking at it. It's very impressive, very clear, and the 360 being able to look all around. We did have restrictions that we couldn't hit every single aisle in the store, but we landed enough camera points in the store that you'll be able to see almost 90% of the store.
Is there anything that you think that Google will start doing with their maps for interiors that maybe we haven't seen yet? I know you do look at a lot of different things. Anything that we maybe should expect coming down the road?
I don't know about expectations, but I'd like to add different things to it. I'd be able to like the interaction that a customer inside Street View would be able to touch and feel and see a little bit more dimensionally and get more information out of it.
And maybe even buy things. I mean, I've been reading some stories where you're going to be able to use maps to actually purchase something at a hotel or a restaurant, things like that. So anyway, we'll have to stay tuned for all that, but I would really just urge anybody who can get on Google, which should be everybody, to get over onto the maps and take a walk through Jungle Gyms. It's fantastic. Phil, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Brian, back to you.
All right, Rob and Phil, for what it's worth, I'm not a foodie or a techie, but I think it's cool. Thanks for joining us this morning for U.S. Bank Business Watch. We'll be back next Sunday and every Sunday morning, 6:30 here on Local 12, 10 a.m. on the CW. For more business news during the week, visit the Business Courier online and sign up for our daily emails. The address is CincinnatiBusinessCourier.com. For all of us here at U.S. Bank Business Watch, I'm Brian Patrick. Have a great Sunday and a good week.